Hello everyone and welcome to our next video. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about how to set up a gradebook and some of the different methodology behind it. So first off, some ideas. Well, first off, let's go to our gradebook. So scroll along with me, and as you'll notice over here in the administration area, which is right under the navigation menu, you have grades. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now, first off, you'll notice that we're brought to the grader report. Once you have students enrolled in your class, they all will appear here, and you can actually add their grades in here. A video on exactly how to input grades will be coming in the near future. Now, since we don't have any students, and since we're still in setup mode, let's go ahead and move from the grader report to an area called categories and items. For those of you who have been around before, this is also, it used to be called full view. Now, as you can see, in your course, if it hasn't been set up yet, all you have is the name of your course, and that's it. However, we want to have other categories in here. As you can see, in a normal course, we have fall, we have subgroups under fall, subcategories, and then we have spring, and then normally there are subcategories under spring too. Now, the idea behind your gradebook is this. Typically, the way that we set things up is, well, all of them are set up this way when it comes to there's a fall category and a spring category. Now, the reason for this is because each one of our grades is for a semester. So at the end of the fall semester, I turn off those grades, me being me, not something you have to worry about, and turn on the spring semester grades. So that way, they basically in the spring start off with a clean slate. Now, this is where things change up a little bit. One of the more common ways of setting up the gradebook is like this, where I have different categories for different types of assignments that my students will complete throughout the year. So for instance, in my French class, I have a homework section, a project section, quizzes, and in-class assignments. And that is how my students are going to be graded. Each one of their grades, each assignment, quiz, everything is going to fit into one of these nice, neat categories. Now, within these categories, each one is worth a certain amount or a certain percentage of the grade. This is because we are using percentages for this. So, the idea behind this is basically the more important the category, the more of the percentage of the grade it should take up. All of these together are going to always equal 100, but I could have it so that quizzes are 50% because I want half of their grade in this class to be about the quizzes. Maybe it's writing. I want 50% of it to be the writing assignments. In math, there are specific categories or specific percentages that each one of the tests needs to be. So there is some flexibility here. Depending on your course, there may be some requirements for exactly what different categories should be worth to some degree. However, as you can see in mine, I have 20, 30, 30, and 20 because I want things to average out pretty evenly. However, obviously, projects and quizzes, I want to have more emphasis than, say, the homework and in-class assignments, but I don't want those to be overshadowed. So, obviously, you have plenty of options with how to set this up. There also is no minimum or maximum number of categories. So if you want 2 categories, go for it. If you want 3, if you want 6 might be a little much, but if that's really how you want to break up the class, then that's perfectly fine. The other way that we can set it up is as essentially like a sum of grades where all of the assignments would be just under fall. It does work, but I strongly suggest this style instead because I feel that's a little bit more reflective of how students are doing. Now, another thing that you'll notice that I've done is I have different numbers. These are the maximum grade for each assignment. So as you can see, I have one that is worth 10 points, one that's worth 10 points, and one that's worth 30 points. Now, the ELC is smart enough to see, okay, this whole category is worth 20 points, 20% of the grade. So it will take a look at it and go, okay, 10 plus 10 plus 30, it will make it work out, and it'll turn out to be the correct percentage. So no need to worry about that. Even if you know, first month out, it's August, end of August, you only have any grades in one category, it's okay. The ELC will still figure out what that grade is out of 100%. So that way they have a normal looking grade. But anyways, inside of the category, I have made some of the assignments worth fewer points because I want them to have less weight inside of the category itself. These first couple of quizzes, they're easy. They're much easier than this last one. So I don't want them to carry more weight than this last one because it's so much more difficult. Students are going to spend a lot more time on it. So I make them worth a little bit less point-wise and make the more important things worth more point-wise. Now, when it comes to your gradebook, it's very important to remember that 100 points is the maximum number of points that any assignment can be. Reason for this is because that's the default setting. That's just the way that we do things around here. So that means that my smaller assignments, I want to keep probably around 10. You could do 5 points if you wanted to, but you don't want anything to exceed 100. All right, so let's go ahead and make some categories for our gradebook. So imagine with me for a moment that you don't have anything in your gradebook yet. And I'm actually going to imagine that with you because I'm going to go ahead and delete my spring. So that way I can create one along with you. Now you'll probably want to start with fall because you want fall to appear first. So actually, let me go ahead and make a fall with you. So I'm going to click add, I'm sorry, I went a little fast. At the very bottom of the page, we have add category. So you're going to go ahead and click that. Then we add a name here. So say it's the fall semester and I want all my fall grades here. I'm going to type fall. I don't need to worry about any of these settings this time around, but we will in a moment. So hit Save Changes, and as you can see, it's added a category named fall. All right, go with me? Cool. Now, okay, again, I don't need this because I already have a fall, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Don't delete yours, please. Otherwise, you'll have to make a new one. All right, so let's go ahead and make spring, which I have deleted and I need to remake. So again, very bottom of the page, add category, click that, type spring, and then once you've done that, save changes, and spring appears at the very bottom. Now let's go ahead and populate this with the same subcategories I've got up here. So the way I do that is this. I'm going to click Add Category. Now in yours, I want you to write fall where I'm writing spring. So that way they appear in the correct order. So I want spring homework. That's my first category that I want to create. I'm going to leave the aggregation alone, and I'm going to click Category Total. This is the maximum number of weighting that this category has. So if you remember from before, mine was worth 20, so I'm going to put 20. 20% of the grade is dedicated to the homework. The next thing that I want to do is come down here to Parent Category and click on it. Now here, the only thing that we need to worry about is Parent Category. And for this, I don't want it to be French 1. That's where it's going to dump it, is just in the same level as fall and spring. However, that doesn't mean, or that means it's not going to work properly. So instead of doing that, I'm going to click on this, and in my case, I'm going to click spring, but if you type spring up here, I want you to click fall. Then click Save Changes. Now, as you can see, I have a subcategory, and you should too. All right, so let's do that again. My next one is projects, 30%. So add category, projects. Remember, you're going to write type fall, and please remember to put fall or spring, because otherwise when you're choosing from a drop-down box, you will never know which one is which. I've learned that from experience. And then again, category total. I'm going to change this to 30. Go ahead and put in the amount that you want that category to be worth in your grade book. Then I'm going to click Parent Category. And remember, we don't want it to be this default one because otherwise it's not going to sit where I want it to. Instead, I want to pick spring. Again, if you've put fall up here, go ahead and click on fall. And save changes. And there it is. All right, next one. We've got quizzes, which is also worth 30. Add a category. Quizzes. Category total. You getting a little quicker at this yet? 30. Parent category, spring, save changes. Okay, then we got one last one, in-class assignments. Add a category. Category total, want it to be worth 20. Parent category, pick the semester that you want it in, fall or spring. Save changes. All right, and just like that, I have my gradebook categories all set up. And as you can see, all of the categories in fall equal 100, and all of my categories in spring equal 100. This will help ensure that it works properly. Now next up, let's add some things to this gradebook. Now as you can see, I already have some things in here, and these are actually quizzes that I've created. So whenever you create a quiz, an assignment, a form that has the grades in it, they will automatically be put into your gradebook, and so will the grades that you input there. So that makes it super easy. You only have to do things once. However, let me show you how you would make an assignment here in the gradebook. So say for instance, I have students participating in a class discussion. After all, it's French. I want them speaking aloud. Oral skills are very important, and that's not something that I want them to do. That's not something I want to do as an assignment online. All right, so in-class discussions, anything like that you don't necessarily want them turning in on the ELC, this is a great place to build them. So I'm going to come down here, and instead of adding a category, I'm going to add a grade item. Now here I want to add a descriptive name of what it is that students are going to be doing. So in this case, if it's going to be discussion and it's during week 1, then it might be week 1 oral review or something of that nature. Remember, something very descriptive. Now again, I have the option of adding in my maximum grade. So in this case, because it's important, I want students to be involved in this oral review, I'm going to go ahead and make it worth 20 points. It's not just a little 10-pointer, it's a big deal. Now, the next thing I need to worry about again is the grade category. So where does this fit in? I don't want to leave it as French 1 because otherwise it's just going to float in no man's land. So here I'm going to click this and then choose where I want it to go. So in this case, notice why we put fall and spring, it sorts them better. All right, so I'm going to do it as a fall in-class assignment. Click on that, hit Save Changes, and then you'll notice that I now have an assignment right here. Perfect. Now say for instance that I've put one here and it's not the way that I want it. What I can do is go ahead and click this. I can delete it. I can edit the settings, so if I want to change how much it's worth and everything, I can do that. Or I can also move it. So I can click this button right here that says move when you hover over it, and I could put it into a different category if I wanted to. So as you can see, it moves right there, but I don't want it there, so I'm going to go ahead and move it back to in-class assignments. And anytime that you have a category or an item just sitting out in no man's land, that's the easiest way to move it is click that button and go ahead and put it in the category that you want it to be. So that's all the basics for the gradebook. So take a few minutes to start playing with yours, and we'll move on to the next thing in just a few minutes.